Hi guys, Sky here, and we have Stormy here.
Hello.
The latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier came out this past Friday. This episode, like the previous episode, was about like 40 to 50 minutes. And I felt this episode, instead of giving us more action, I felt this episode relied more on like developing the story and the characters. Did you feel that was the case?
Yeah, it definitely felt more like plot driven, and it definitely had a lot of information on back.
Yeah, cause throughout this whole episode, there was only really one major like fight scene, which was that truck fight scene. On top of the trucks. The major points we noticed were first of all, the development of John Walker in the series so far, as the new Captain America. He's definitely more of an arrogant and like sort of cocky type, following the principles that Captain America established. How do you feel about this character so far?
I mean, honestly, I feel like for the Captain America's title, I really don't feel like he's gonna end up being a good character at all. I mean, it's kind of hinted towards us a little, with their encounters and obviously in this episode. But like I feel like he is gonna be like tied into something in the future, or like maybe like not necessarily bad, but like maybe like scuffles to come, disagreements. It seems like there's a lot about his character that we don't know as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're aware of like the this character from the comics, we know that after he takes off the Captain America title, he becomes U.S. agent, and he's like this sort of government type figure that thinks he's doing the right thing, but at the same time, he's really arrogant about how he does his
Mhm.
um good doings, right? So, and we kind of saw it at the very end of this episode where he kind of, when he's interacting with Bucky and Sam, he's like, if you're not going to join me, then like, don't get in my way. Um, Kind of like a threat, right? So, I felt that was sort of like leaning into that, that we can't really trust this character. Um, Another point that stood out. Do you want to present one, Stormy?
I mean, honestly, like kind of going off of his character a little bit really fast. I feel like the way that they chose to introduce him was kind of interesting because obviously, we've kind of seen him before. Maybe not exactly in the show's portrayal, but like it kind of points to me like that he's gonna be kind of like a main like almost like side antagonist. Like he agrees, but he's not necessarily like on their side. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely gonna be like they're butting heads.
Yeah, because like right off the bat in this episode, like he seems to have like like he legit wants to. He's always wanted to be Captain America, and he thinks he has what it takes to be the Captain America for the country. And obviously, like he said in this episode, he never met Steve Rogers, but he wants to do the best to do what he did. Um, but at the same time, it's like I don't trust this guy. It's kind of like uh, because Sam was supposed to be the new Captain America, but obviously he decided to set the mantle down. So it's gonna be interesting how that's explored. Um, Another point that stood out. How did you feel about the Flag Smashers, which we saw a little more of?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. It feels different for like an antagonist type character, like I guess you could say group. I mean, we're so used to seeing in Marvel MCU movies, like big villains. It's kind of a nice change. Um, Especially like, with the correlation that, it could be something bigger than what we're seeing. I like how they chose to like portray them. Kind of like, like kind of step up Black Ops type characters, people that like kind of get involved and then leave. Especially from the first episode, if you remember, uh, the kind of just out of nowhere, and I kind of like that. Um,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
about you?
this episode, I did feel um that the way they're introducing these characters, it seems that they're trying to do like they're not their cause isn't all bad because it seems they're trying to help like the poor people out or like the people in danger from like outside like probably the government something like that because um I forgot one of the people at this like facility like building they arrive at, they say like they're the Robin Hood of like the people, and that must mean they're not all bad because Robin Hood was never a bad person. Like he just went against the law, but he did it for a just cause. So um yeah, I don't think these are going to be the overall villains.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, if you saw how this episode ended, you see that it takes us to Zemo. Our first look at him in this series. Do you think he's going to be the villain or just a character?
I mean, I definitely think he's gonna be like prominent, but I'm not sure if he'll be like the main villain. You know what I mean? To me, it
Yeah.
feels like they're building up towards something a little bit bigger than that. And definitely coming from like we were saying earlier, just in relation to how the Flag Smashers were involved in the superhero serum, so we think. I feel like it's much larger than just Zemo.
Yeah, also, now that you point that out, these Flag Smashers and U.S. Agent or John Walker. I'm interested if they'll ever like explore how they end up like getting the super soldier serum. Because I mean, we haven't really seen that like element, I guess, since like it was used on Bucky and Steve. So like, and we also get to see that Isaiah is also was also like tested on like that. So yeah, that's like a cool thing I didn't expect them to touch. How did you feel about that scene with Isaiah?
So I feel like the inclusion of characters, and I kind of said this in the first episode. So good and bad characters, I feel like is always a nice touch. Um, I'm not sure like what they're planning on like going forward with. But I'm sure like the inclusion of characters from this point on is gonna increase. Obviously, kind of similar how it did to what WandaVision kind of put in place. Um, but I'm not sure like how that's gonna affect the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Also we
variables.
see yeah, I mean, this could end up being something like for the larger plot, or it could just be something they added in. I guess we'll see as the episodes progress. of a topic that I also noticed. I don't think I'm not sure if this is what they were going for, like exactly, but after Bucky and Sam leave Isaiah's house, and they're like having a little, I guess, discussion in the street. The police like comes up to them and he's like he asks Bucky like, "Is this man like bothering you?" And you know, did you feel that was supposed to feel um like sort of racial tension, or like what did you see that scene as?
I've seen racial tension this entire series, and I'm glad that they're tackling it in the way that they are, because I think it's an important topic, especially like coming from someone who's seen like a lot of that, and especially in the last couple of years. But like the way that they tackle it in the show is important. And I feel like it's been done well. It definitely is setting up themes to continue. Sadly, those themes, and I feel like it's gonna be an important plot. Maybe not primary plot, but like used for secondary. And we kind of mentioned that in the last review. That it just feels like it's being set up that way on purpose.
Yeah, I I the way they did it, it wasn't super like heavy. And I feel like I'm not trying to go against the um area, but it's I think it's good that they're touching it because it's obviously like a world issue that we face, and um it isn't everyone, but um it just shows you how even like someone who worked for the nation and was like a hero, that they're just like judged just because of their skin color, and like just it was good. It was done vaguely, but it worked. Any other like element that stood out to you in this episode?
I just like the therapy session. I like how Sam and Bucky interact with each other. It seems so like organic. Like it seems like really like different compared to like what we're used to seeing. And it felt like to me like it's building up for them to be like a strong duo. I don't know if like that's the vibe that we're supposed to be getting, but it definitely does feel that way.
Yeah. I also really like that scene. It was like some little like comedy type like scene, but also it mixed in like sort of how each character feels for each other. Um, and like just to finish up, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but this series definitely feels more like a movie than like a series. Because with WandaVision, like it felt, obviously the scale was big, but it 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 worked. It made me feel like I was watching a series. How do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like you're
Yeah,
watching a movie?
to be honest, I feel like this is gonna be the better series out of the two. It does feel more like a movie, but like it feels like a very long and very detailed like film. Um, and to me, I feel like I like that vibe a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's just something about the way they're setting up things, and like the everything is all well paced, so it adds to like the overall uh, like how the series is gonna end up taking shape.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, any last thoughts?
Just that I'm kind of happy to see where the end scene from this episode takes us. In the next episode. Because to me, I wasn't really all that surprised, but it seems like that's going to be a pretty interesting plot to follow.
Yeah, we never really got to see Zemo in full like action. In Civil War, he was more of like a minor antagonist. Not like so. It's gonna be interesting how they explore his character because he's a pretty good villain, like at least in the comics. So I hope they develop him well. Um, yeah. Well, let us know what you guys think. And we'll be covering the next episode.